Today we are going to be looking at negative exponents. So a to the n is the same thing as a times itself n amount of times. So a to the n tells you multiply a n amount of times. But those are for positive exponents. What if you saw something like a to the negative second? That exponent is negative. So what do you think that means? What is different? What would we do differently? So let's go on and look into that. So negative exponents. Negative exponents, you are dividing and dividing is the opposite of multiplying. Therefore, a negative exponent means how many times you are going to divide by that number. So 8 to the negative first is equal to 1 divided by 8, which is 1 over 8, which equals 0.125. So there's a rule to this. So let's look at 5 to the negative third. That is 1 divided by 5 divided by 5 divided by 5. So take a 1 and dividing by 5 3 amounts. So when you do that, you get 0.008. There is another way to look at this. 5 to the negative third. So if we do 1 divided by 5 3 times, we get 1 over 5, and we multiplied it 3 times. So let's go back to when we were multiplying powers. So 1 over 5 to the third. And 1 over 5 to the third is 1 over 5 to the third is 125. And if you divide 1 divided by 125, you get the same answer as 0.008. So instead of just dividing it out, we can think of it as writing it with exponents. So if you look here from 5 to the negative third, and look here, 1 over 5 to the third, what do you notice there? There's a rule we're going to look at. So negative exponents, to change a sign of an exponent using the reciprocal. So what you're going to do is take the power, so a to the negative n, you're going to put it underneath and put 1 on top. But then the n becomes positive. So negative powers, you have to flip them. You have to bring them down to the denominator. So this might make a little more sense once we look at some problems. So we are going to write each of these values using positive exponents and then evaluate the expression. So we have a negative exponent, we need to make it positive. So we bring this part down to the numerator. So it gets moved to the denominator, makes a positive 5 for the exponent. We need a placeholder for 1 on top. So now we need to simplify this. 10 to the 5th is the same thing as saying we have 0 amounts of 5. So 1 over 100,000. And when we write that, we get 0.1. 0.000001. Now for number 2, let's put this over 1. So then when we have this negative exponent, we have to put it to the bottom. So we get 2 to the positive 4th. Put a 1 on top. And then 2 to the 4th is 16. So 1 over 16 is equal to 0.0625. 5 to the negative 1st. Let's just make it into a fraction, and then we can move down. So it becomes 1 over 5 to the 1st. And 5 to the 1st is the same thing as just 5. So 1/5 is equal to 0.2. Number 4, we have 4 to the negative 3rd. Make it a fraction. Bring it down because it's negative. So we get 4 to the positive 3rd. Placeholder of 1 on top. Simplify 4 to the 3rd. That is 64. We still have 1, so 1 over 64 is 0.015625. Okay, now let's take this a step further. We're just going to simplify. So we have x times y to the negative 2nd. We need to get rid of negative exponents. So the only thing that's negative here is our y. So let's turn this into a fraction, put it over 1, and we're only going to bring down the negative. So x stays put, y gets moved down, it becomes positive. So number 2, we have m to the negative 5th n. So let's turn this into a fraction. Circle the only thing that's negative, and that's what you're bringing down. So n stays put, m to the negative 5 gets brought down to the bottom, but the exponent changed to a positive 5. And then we're simplified. 3. We have a to the 5th b over a to the 3rd b to the 4th. So we're dividing our exponents here, so we subtract them. So 5 minus 3 is 2, so we get a squared. B has imaginary exponent of 1. So 1 minus 4 is negative 3. So we get b to the negative 3rd. This is not simplified because we have the negative exponent. So turn it into a fraction and bring it down. So we get a squared over b to the positive 3rd power. Okay, number 4 is the same thing. Subtract your exponents because we have the same base. 4 minus 2 is 2, so we get x squared. We have an imaginary 1 for the exponent, so 1 minus 5 is negative 4. Now we need to simplify the negative and bring him down. So we get x squared over y to the positive 4th. So these next two, we have some work we have to do first. So let's take it with just our coefficients here and simplify it. Negative 6 divided by 18. We can simplify that and we get 1/3. Now let's look at our r's. We have r to the 3rd and r to the negative 7th. Let's bring down our r to the 3rd, and then we have this negative exponent here. Bring him up. So we get r to the positive 7. Because it's in the bottom, we bring him to the top. Then let's look at our s's. We have s to the 5th and s to the 5th. Same thing on top and bottom, so we can cancel them out. And then we have t to the negative third. It's negative, so we have to bring him up. So then we get t to the positive third. Now, let's see if we're simplified here. We are not. We have multiple r's here. So since we're multiplying here, we can add the exponents. 3 plus 7 is 10. So we get r to the 10th. Everything else stays the same. We can have a 1 out here, but we do not need it. The one thing I just realized we missed is this negative. So we have to bring down the negative with it. So we can just put the negative right on top here. Number 6, same thing as we did number 5. Simplify the coefficients here. 5 and negative 25 simplifies to 1 over negative 5. Bring the negative with it. Now let's look at our a's. We have a to the 4th, bring him down, but we have an a to the negative 2nd. Bring him up. So we get a to the positive 2nd. B to the 6th and b to the 6th, same thing on top and bottom, so we can cancel them out. And c to the negative 3rd, bring him up. So now let's simplify. We have a to the 4th and a squared. That gets a to the 6th. Bring down everything else as is. And there you go. So that is our negative exponent lesson. Please reach out if you have any questions.